It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day, I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. I'm taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
It starts with some beer, so you shouldn't have fear. Two garbage guys with facts, but they both still have tact. It's that time at last for the best damn podcast. It's Can Crusher Day!
And welcome to another edition of Can Crusher Spotlight. And I was really excited, let me say that, to have this guest on the show. Former OVW TV champion, but I kind of got myself into a little trouble during this interview. And let's rewind to Wednesday as well. Paul calling out Chad Miller and William Alexander Moore. So just so you guys know, on Wednesdays we're gonna have rebuttals from them. I leaked what was being said about Randall Floyd, that we're kind of in a feud. So I really don't know where this is gonna go or where this is gonna take our partnership with OVW. Like Randall, I gotta let you guys listen to it first, and then maybe at the end we'll come back and wrap this up. But guys, after this commercial spot from Collar and Elbow, we'll have the Randall Floyd interview that I had earlier this week, and I don't know. I'm worried from things that were said, and I'm in trouble.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to another edition of Can Crusher Spotlight. And this week we have a former OVW television champion a couple times, maybe two or three. Nonetheless, welcome to the show, Randall Floyd. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm feeling fantastic. Thank you very much for having me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. A little hiccups, but
awesome.
We're doing well. So let's start at the beginning. We like doing the whole recap of your life and career. Who introduced you to wrestling as a little Randall?
As a little Randall, I would say my parents. We grew up, when I was growing up, WWF and WCW was getting really big. So this I'm talking 96, 97, when I first started watching. I'm a 6-7-year-old kid. The NWO just became a thing. That's one of my very first memories of wrestling, was Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan coming out and introducing everybody, the entire world, to the New World Order. So I've just been a big fan ever since, and so since then we had a wrestling club back when I was a kid. Amateur wrestling, little to my knowledge, and I know it was not real wrestling, as I like to say. So we showed up to wrestling camp, and I wasn't hitting anybody with chairs, so I was fairly disappointed in that. But I would say, the 96, 97 WCW, NWO. I was a huge WCW fan as a kid.
You know, I want to sidebar on one thing real quick. You said you were upset about not hitting anybody with chairs. I think that goes along with everybody. Any kid that joined like junior Olympic wrestling or whatever you got, knothole wrestling or whatever, the first thing you want to do when you get out on that mat is either punch somebody in the face or hit somebody with a chair, and you're not allowed.
Right, and I remember they're showing us single leg takedowns, and I was like, what the hell is this? I'm not interested in any of this. And I'm 6 or 7 years old. I was like, okay, good joke. Where's the chairs at? And then I found out shortly, the next hour or so, that was not going to be happening.
And then you hated it from there, right?
I actually, I did for about a year. I was like, this is stupid. I don't like it. And then I started getting good at it, and I really fell in love with amateur wrestling. So I did that for the better part of the last 20 years.
Right.
And so I kind of fell into professional wrestling once my amateur career was over about 4 years ago.
Okay. Who are some of you? You said the NWO. You were mostly WCW fan as a child?
Not mostly, but that was kind of my first memories of wrestling was WCW. And like the big time guys back then were, you know, Lex Luger, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, all those guys are some of my first memories of wrestling. It wasn't until really that Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock really started popping off that I didn't even know WWF existed. And then those guys, I started hearing about those guys at school, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds way cooler than what I'm watching. And then we always ended up just jumping back and forth from WCW to Monday Night Raw. Was it Nitro and Raw? Yeah, so.
I compare you. You have a little bit of Stone Cold in you. Just the way I see you come to the ring, I'm like, oh man, Randall Floyd. I'm waiting for the black leather vest to come out pretty soon, and you stunning people all over the place.
I think it was our God-given haircut that might be a little part of it too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Kind of fell into our haircuts by not by choice.
So
that's just the way life goes.
You have a great amateur background, and actually talk about that. You wrestled some in college, correct?
Correct. So I wrestled at the University of Indianapolis from 2009 to 2013. I wrestled 197 pounds for them for the 4 years that I was there. Really, more or less, just kind of getting myself ready to what I was eventually and always working towards, which was the next step into getting into professional wrestling. So that kind of capped off close to 20. I was about 18 years then of amateur wrestling. I kind of coached for a year back home and worked and saved up money to get myself into a professional wrestling ring for the next year after that, and the rest kind of just took off from there.
Yeah, and here we are, end of interview. No, not end of interview yet.
All right, yeah, it was good talking to you, and we'll see you later.
Right. No, so that's a goal that 19 years, some people would have put that on the back burner not knowing, shit, am I going to get in there or am I not? And then how do you select OVW?
So OVW was not my first selection. I saved up for a year, and a friend of mine, Mickey and I, we moved out to California, and it was there that I started wrestling for the first time inside of a wrestling ring. So what had happened was we moved out there with the intentions of kind of slacking up for another year, and then before kind of getting serious into anything else, he actually still lives out there. I moved back, obviously, but what had happened was I was just looking around and just kind of messing through and looking through professional wrestling schools, and there was one in San Diego, California, which just happened to be where I was living at the time. So really all I did was just answer a local wrestling ad, and about 2 days later I was inside of a wrestling ring training out at SoCal Pro, which they were featured on Total Divas or Total Bellas or something, one of the two. Where they were out training was at SoCal Pro, so that is where I got my start with Anthony Idol, Mike Camden, Jeff Dino, guys like that. Then that actually got me my start in wrestling. It wasn't until 2017 that I moved back, and I just immediately jumped into training with Rip Rogers and Matt Capitelli here at OVW.
So the training in California, training now in Kentucky, how do they differ? You know, there are two different styles, correct?
Sort of. So they do teach. When I was first training out in California, we would train 4 days a week. 3 of those would be American style, and that last day of the week we would learn lucha, since it's so close to the border down there in Mexico. So I know a little bit of lucha wrestling as well. So we would get lucha training. So I mean, the high flying stuff and all that fun, flippy, entertaining stuff I can actually do. I choose not to for certain reasons.
Right. In seeing some braces and some pads on, we understand the reasons. We really do.
Right. Joint issues, all that fun stuff. That's how you gotta keep yourself protected. It doesn't take much to really hurt yourself doing this. And, you know, having such an extensive wrestling background for almost 18 years, I've beaten myself up pretty much my whole life. So this doesn't change anything here. It's all still the kind of the same stuff. Getting beat up, bumps and bruises. You learn to adapt, you adjust, and you keep moving forward.
Yeah, this is a legit message from Randall Floyd. Don't try this at home because we are trained professionals, right?
That's right. That is correct.
So tell us a little bit about who Randall Floyd is. As I said, I picture him as a Stone Cold type of deal because of the hair, but also an all-American guy that's going to drink a lot of beer on the back of a tailgate. That's who my Randall Floyd is.
Well, I actually one time I drank so much beer that I blacked out, and I don't remember much. And that was the last time I drank beer. So it's been a solid 4 or 5 years since I've done that. But as far as who I am, I'm just the guy that wants to go out there and get the job done. So by whoever I've got, who you kind of touched on it, whoever's asked I got to kick to do just that. I mean, that's what's going to happen, and that's what I'm out there to do. Be as aggressive as possible and go out and do my best to pick up that victory. You mentioned before, 3-time OVW television champion. I want to add more to that. I want to add more championships, heavyweight, tag, whatever's there, whatever's available for me. That's what I'm wanting. So that's what I go out there, and that's my end goal, is to just go out there and kick some ass, like you said.
Nice. So recently you returned from said injury. Just because that injury, you actually surprised everybody. You have not been on OVW for a while. You were I don't want to say that you were forgotten, but you show up in the TV Gauntlet match. And how was that, knowing that this is your first time coming back through those curtains at Davis Arena? Did you get the jitters of a first match feeling all over again?
I'll say that there's not a match that I've really had in my career that I haven't felt a little bit of jitters right before. You always got that little bit of nervousness. It's more of like an anxious nervousness. You just want to get out there and just go out there and have fun. But that first night back was it felt like my very first day in there again, my very first match that I ever had. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I don't know if these people remember me. And I don't know. Like you said, came off of an injury. So I had a knee injury this last year in November. So I was kind of nervous about that. I didn't know how my leg would react. I didn't know how the crowd would react, like I said. So when my music hits and everybody's still quiet, I go, oh, shit, these people don't remember who I am. So then I'm able to walk out there, and it takes them a second, but they realize who I am. And it was a very great feeling. It kind of get in your stomach there, that all that nervousness that was there kind of all flies away, and the rest just kind of takes over. It's more of an adrenaline thing than anything. But it was a really awesome time. That return was real exciting for me, and I'm glad that the the fans gave me the support that they did upon that return.
And when you returned, you had a little bit of a difference to you. Something was blonde. Something was very highlighted. Something was just a beacon in the light. What was the dyed mustache for?
So a month before my return, I had a opportunity with WWE. I got called and invited to have a tryout with them down in Florida. So what had happened, as the timeline goes, they call me. They say, let's see, it's late October, early November. They say, hey, we want to see you down here for a tryout. It'll be sometime early March or late March. So I'm like, oh, great, awesome, yeah, I'll be there. About 3 days later on television, I ended up tearing a ligament in my knee. So that was the timeline of where we're at here. I got the surgery a couple weeks after that. But to get back to your question, I had to do something a little bit different to make myself noticed, to keep them, because I wanted eyes on me. That's the whole point of your tryout, really, is to kind of, especially your first one down there, is to more or less turn some heads and get some people noticing you. So I went in and was going to just go with a straight mustache. Well, just before, I think it was the night or 2 nights before, I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and Bobby Roode has just shaven his face into a mustache. So I'm thinking, great, now I got to do something different. I immediately jumped up, and when we went to the store, and I got some hair bleach for my mustache, and I bleached blonde my mustache there to just get myself to look just a little bit different and kind of get, like I said, people to turn their heads and look at me, and it worked. The second I walked in, somebody goes, "Oh boy, look at you," and they shook my hand and kind of laughed about it and just went on from there. So the plan ended up working. It was more or less, it was to get myself noticed at my WWE tryout.
And it did get you noticed, as you said, because a few months later, you're in the ring with the Lucha House Party, and my God, watching it on a 75-inch TV, it was the goldest mustache that I've ever. It was like it was golder than Hulk Hogan's trunks. I mean, it was a beacon. Talk about the Raw experience that you had.
So the Raw experience was wild. This was my first time on national TV, but I had done extra spots for WWE before. I never made it to TV, but I was backstage, and you get tryout matches and all that before that, and that's essentially when I got my official tryout down in Florida from. I had been in talks with William Regal, but Scott Armstrong recommended me for a tryout. They kind of collided, and whatever I got down there. So Monday Night Raw, this was a couple months ago now. It was like 2 weeks after my tryout. I hadn't even come back to OVW television yet. But they gave me the call because they were here in Louisville, but they had us go out to Cincinnati for Monday Night Raw. Louisville was the SmackDown on Tuesday. So we get there, and they were saying that we need some bodies for the Lucha House Party. So, of course, I was one that was selected there among 2 others to wrestle those guys. So the experience is really wild. So they had the segment before us was Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn. They were doing some chasing. They were running around the arena. We're tucked into some little corner behind a curtain because we have to sprint out there during the Lucha House Party's entrance to be there on time to get the match set up because we can't go down the ramp. They're coming out live, and there's all that commotion going on, and we're right on next. So we're standing behind the curtain. We're getting we haven't gotten to go yet, and Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn come sprinting through the curtain that we were just at, which is why they wouldn't let us go. The referees say, no, they're coming our way. We can't go out there. So they come through, and immediately Lucha House Party's music hits, and we're nowhere near the ring.
Oh,
so
no.
During their entire we're not nowhere near the ring. We are to the right of the entrance, and even further back. So as soon as those guys clear and the cameras aren't on us, their music's already hitting, and they're going down the ramp, and we are sprinting through the crowd to get ourselves to the ring to essentially beat them there. and I think we just made it. It was pretty wild. Like, as they're jumping into the ring, I think I'm jumping up onto the apron to get myself in position. So it was hectic, but it was a lot of fun. I had a couple of minutes there to kind of just look around, and standing in front of 15,000 people is pretty wild. So getting to do that, and a lot of people saw it, and getting text messages and phone calls, the whole experience of it was really awesome. If anybody gets the chance, I highly recommend it.
Did you get to bend the ear of anybody in the back? Did you get to some of the diva, anything? Did you talk to anybody backstage and say, "Hey, I'm Randall Floyd, and tell me what to do because this is what I'm doing," or anything?
So that was, I think, my third time there. So you kind of have an idea of what you do and what they want from you. It's more or less stay out of everybody's way. But before the show, you kind of get an opportunity to see people, and if they talk to you, they talk to you. I had met Randy Orton like 3 years ago, where he had gotten my trainer Rip Rogers and I tickets to a SmackDown Live show. So the whole time we got to sit backstage and just talk with him until he went out for his match, and then he came back and we kind of sat around for a few hours. So he recognized me. He talked to me for about a minute. Like a year and a half ago, I got to wrestle at OVW. Actually, I got to wrestle Rockstar Spud, who is now Drake Maverick at WWE. So he knows who I am. So he always comes down. He'll come marching down the steps every time he sees me and has a good conversation with me. He's a real fun guy. So those are really the only two guys that I truly talk to, just because they're really the only ones that I know.
Nice. Those are two. Randy Orton is, a legend within himself, and Rockstar Spud seems like, or Drake Maverick, whatever you want to call him. I still like the Rockstar Spud name. He just seems like he's a great human being and a fun guy.
He's a really fun guy. He's hilarious to be around. He's always got a great joke for you when you're there. He kind of pals around. He's always been fun. Every time I've had a interaction with him, it's always been pretty hilarious.
So, side question from the whole WWE thing. I heard the food that you get backstage is amazing, like unbelievable that you get to go through this catering line. Is that still correct?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. When I was there, eating was all that I did. So they got a TV set up in the catering, and so you can just watch a show from there. And really, if you're not doing anything, there's no reason to leave that area. So I just sat there and ate the whole time. It's pretty incredible.
All right. Well, just clarify, because a couple other people are like, "Well, it's okay. It's okay." And I'm like, you know what? I know.
Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. It's incredible. The catering spread that they got, it's amazing. There's really no beating it.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, it's real good.
Recently, you competed in the OVW Combine, the first ever OVW Combine. Before you go, you are a bona fide OVW star already. You know where your path is. You know where everything's aligned. So why compete in it? You're a champion. You're a champion's champion. Why do the Combine?
Why not? Why not do the Combine? There's really no reason that anybody on the OVW roster wasn't there. This is a huge opportunity for everybody that's involved. Impact Wrestling was there. There's former WWE guys there. There's all sorts of connections that you could have gotten through just being at the Combine. Jesse Goddard, who's on Big Brother for NBC, he was there. You never know what could happen with something like that. He likes you. Maybe he throws an idea to NBC and you get used, and now you're making tons of money on national TV and you don't have to beat yourself up inside of a ring. So why you wouldn't be there? I don't understand why nobody would have been there. So I'm there to compete for that top 15 spot. I'm a competitor. I've always been competitive. So when I hear that there's an opportunity to win, free scholarship to the first ever pro wrestling trade school, there's no reason that I wouldn't be there. I'm here to learn as much as anybody else, and I've been doing this for a little bit now, but not nearly as long as, guys like Al Snow who are going to be leading this school. And if I have the opportunity to learn from him, every single day, and it's free, I'm going to take my chances and compete for that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a win-win for those who did not go, and that's across the board, from Pittsburgh to Louisville to California. You've known about this from WrestleMania. What the hell is wrong with you?
I don't know. I know that we're going to be doing it at least once a year. This year I knew was more or less kind of a trial to try and figure it out and see how things were going. And for our first time, we had over 60 people there competing for the opportunity, which was, I thought, pretty good for the first time. The very first Super Bowl wasn't a sellout show, so that's just how that kind of stuff goes. It's going to take some time to build some momentum, but I know next year, if we end up doing it again, which I believe is the plan, competition is going to be a lot harder. There's going to be a lot more people there, and it's going to be way more exciting.
Yeah, I'm not stepping on toes, but I believe it was closer to 75, and confirmation from Chad Miller and Al Snow. It is definitely an annual thing. So if you didn't make the first one, get down there roughly the same time. We'll cover it here on Can Crushers. Don't worry. We'll get into that in the long run. But how do you think you did, and what was your take of your score after the Combine?
So the way they had it set up, I think you had a range from 1 to 6 on each of the categories that they tested you on, and there were different kind of places that you would fall into depending on that score. So there's like Superstar, Hall of Fame numbers. Hall of Fame was the highest you could get. I think Superstar was the next one. I missed the Hall of Fame number by 1 point. And that was because I could not participate in the squats because like we said, I had that recent knee injury. And at that point, I think I was 5 months out, and I just didn't want to risk, doing anything dangerous when I knew that I could still potentially land myself in the top 15. We haven't gotten results back for it yet, but I'm very confident in what my score was. I'm confident that I got myself in that top 15. I mean, I truly hope so. If not, you just it's something to use as a building block to keep moving yourself forward. So now I've got these numbers and these records. So now what I got to do is, if we do this again next year, I've got some numbers and some goals to reach that I can see. They're visual. They're right there that I know that I can beat. And it's just a matter of preparing and just working yourself towards those goals and beating that for the next time.
Has anything changed? I know you guys did a fat scan, it's not the technical words, but you guys did like a fat scan. You did joint movements and everything. Has anything changed in your life since then, knowing that, okay, maybe, don't quote me on this because you'll punch me through the internet, maybe your body fat was like at a 2, and you now want it down to a -1 or something. Has your eating changed?
My eating has changed, but that's just because I'm trying to do myself a favor as far as my body goes and just take care of myself a little bit more. There's, before, not that I was ever in awful shape, but I kind of just ate whatever I wanted, and then I would just work out that much harder depending on what I ate. But we've got so many people at OVW now that I've kind of talked to, and they've been giving me, diet advice as far as that goes, and it's going to help in the long run. It takes time for it to get there. A lot of rice and chicken and vegetables. It's just, it's whatever. But as far as my body fat percentage when I got there, it kind of surprised me. I expected it to be a little bit higher than what it was. I was thinking I was around 14 or 15%, and the what they clocked me at was 10%, so I was happy with that. I don't know, I'd like to know what I was before, but it's just something we can use to kind of see where we're at and, make those adjustments. And if you got certain goals of where you want to be, we've got Miss Marvelous, who's on our roster, with Melvin Maximus. They're, former bodybuilders. Miss Marvelous still is, and she kind of is able to help me out with, because she knows all about this stuff. I think she's competing this past weekend, I believe, up in Chicago in a bodybuilding competition. And it's cool to see how those kind of people operate, and it kind of gives you a better idea of working out and supplementing in, what foods at what times and all that. And it's really interesting how the body works in that way. And they are able to break that down and kind of walk you through it a little bit better and give you a better understanding of what you're doing. So when it comes next time for those results of the combine, things are going to look better for most people if they're seeking out that sort of advice and, taking advantage of it.
Yeah, Al Snow has spared no expense for the educators, I don't know what I want to call them, the professors, whatever, of the Al Snow Wrestling Academy, non-wrestling wise. We're talking the health wise, we're talking, the social media, all of that. Al Snow has gotten the best of the best to help you guys succeed no matter what after your wrestling career is over, right?
Right.
Okay.
Eventually all this stuff will end. It could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years from now, but regardless, we're all putting ourselves in a position where, at least we're going to be with this trade school, that we can use all of these, these fundamental skills that we're going to learn to be able to do something different outside of this, even if it is in the wrestling business or outside the wrestling business. When I hurt my leg, I spent all of my time basically being in Al Snow's shadow, just following him around and seeing how things operate. So production meetings, I got to watch him direct shows, and I would keep track of all the times and time cues, and would talk to the referees and just feed them information. And by, a month or 2 or 3 months into it, I kind of already knew what he was thinking, and I would be able to kind of jump into the referee's ear and let him know kind of just from what I'm seeing and what I've been hearing from him to, give them direction on where we are as far as times or what the match needs or what we need from the wrestlers at that point. And I even got the opportunity to direct 2 OVW episodes and a Saturday Night Special by myself while Al was absent. So you get all these giant opportunities just from small little things like that, like a leg injury that you might have, you put on the shelf for 5 months. And I didn't want to be away from wrestling, so I had to find a different way to keep myself involved, and that was basically shadowing Al Snow. And I feel more or less that's what this trade school is going to be, is just kind of getting inside of his mind and, 35 plus years of experience from him. Us getting that as young students, as young wrestlers, it's going to pay off, I think, tremendously for all of us.
There's a lot more inside that mind, too, besides wrestling that we won't cover on the show. But
a little bit.
All right. So a question. We got 3 more questions, and we'll let you know. We know you're a busy man. One that we always ask at this time, a dream match, okay? A dream match of anybody, but we need to know the stipulation of the match and where. Like, do you want it in Kentucky? Do you want it at Madison Square Garden over Japan? So it's a free-for-all. Who, what, and where?
Who, what, and where. And this is anybody, anytime.
Yep.
Any stipulation. Dream match. I would say WrestleMania 3, Randall Floyd versus Macho Man Randy Savage instead of Ricky Steamboat.
Damn, you're coming with one of the greatest events of all time, and my favorite wrestler too. So you win. By the way, this game that I play, you win.
Randy Savage is my all-time favorite wrestler. It's when I first started, it's somebody I tried to model myself after, and I still kind of do a little bit of his mannerisms, and I'm trying to find certain ways to make them my own. But he's hands down my favorite. So dream match, that's the one. Place me in there with Randy Savage.
A headband would cover that hairline. Just saying.
Whoa. No. I got to rock this. I don't have much of a choice, so I just got to flaunt it.
All right. So, sorry, that was a dig.
That was I'll see you. I'll see you sometime, and we'll talk about it.
You're going to see me at the beginning of August again, so I'll be prepared. The advice that you give for youngsters just wanting to get into the business. I mean, you have wrestling, amateur and professional, we said about 20 years. So what about the people wanting to get into pro wrestling right now? What are you going to tell the next kid in line?
Then what I would say to the next kid in line that wants to be a professional wrestler is just show up. Just make yourself get there. That for me was kind of the hardest part, and we touched on it a little bit. I was going to move out to California to kind of get away from this stuff because honestly I was afraid to get myself into it because I just didn't know if I could do it. I had that nervousness in me that I wasn't sure that it was something I could do. And then one day I paid for it and I made myself show up, and I was there. And then once you're there, it's just a matter of continuing to show up. I truly believe that it's just physically impossible for you to get worse at something if you just keep showing up. So that's kind of what I've always lived by as far as my amateur wrestling career. I mean, there were plenty of times that I was down and out, and I just didn't think I could do it anymore, and I just kept showing up, and I ended up having a very successful career. And I'm hoping the same kind of happens from, this whole professional wrestling thing. If I can just keep showing up and just keep making it happen, I think that very good things could come my way potentially. So just show up, and that's my advice. Just get there.
And that's for life too. I mean, you could just continue
Absolutely.
to go to work and just drudge through life, but if you show up and actually put forth a little effort, they're going to notice, oh my God, Mark has done this today. Why don't we give him a little more responsibility? You build on that just by showing up. I love
Exactly.
that.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so tell everybody out there where they can find you. You're sporadically on social media, so where are you?
I'm starting to get a little bit better at it. I'm starting to use it a lot more, but I am on Instagram and Twitter at Randall Floyd _. You can follow me on there. I try to be sort of serious, but I like to be silly with it as well. So I like to try to have a little fun with my social media. But the Twitter and the Instagram is Randall Floyd _. That'll be all one word. And then finally, I've got OVW is traveling up to Rensselaer, Indiana, at our Jasper County Fair. They're back in my hometown. I'm after 10 long years heading back to my hometown to do a show with OVW, and I just want to kind of plug that when you can pick up your tickets at Ticket Leap, JasperCountyFair.ticketleap.com. Be sure to pick up those tickets for the July 20th show at the Jasper County Fair.
It's always nice to go home, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been quite some time since I've been there, so I'm looking forward to see some familiar faces and hopefully see some new faces at the show.
Any other final thoughts before we let you go and beat somebody's head in today?
Well, I don't have too many final thoughts. I mean, you did make a lot of bald comments, so the next time we see each other, we'll have some words. I mean, that's really my last. That's all I've been thinking about. I'm kind of over here steaming about it, just getting blood red mad, thinking of what I'm going to do to you next time we see each other.
Wonderful. I can't wait. So hopefully, all joking aside, Randall Floyd, one hell of an athlete. To come back from the injury that he did have, he just comes back stronger. He is the real deal. And once again, somebody that looks up to the Macho Man. Anybody that comes on this show, guys, this is a cheap plug for Can Crushers and for Mark. If you want to, get praise from me all the time, just say Macho Man's your favorite. Macho Man was, one of my favorites. So just to say he's your favorite, and I have to kind of see it in you a little bit as well. You'll get praise all the time. Randall Floyd, I love him. I love him. The hairline is fine, nothing against it. I got the same hairline. All right, guys, I'm pulling at strings. I'm just trying to find a way to get back on Randall Floyd's good side. I really need this. I don't need the figure four on me. I don't need the real deal slam. I just don't need even punch in the face. I'm kind of worried. But nonetheless, that's my battle I'm going to have to take into account when we head back down to Kentucky the beginning of August. Paul's got his own battle he's got to worry about. I can't be trying to protect him from Chad Miller and William Alexander Moore. I got the real deal after me. So, I don't know. But what a great interview this was. Like I said, all joking aside, just to hear everything about Randall Floyd. Somebody we want to talk to more. He's got a lot of matches underneath his belt, and we need to dive into those some more and just talk about some that really stand out to him. So hopefully I can sweep this whole mess that I have underneath the rug and sit down with him again in August. So guys, if you want to be spotlighted, go ahead and hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. It's at CanCrusher69, or you can send us an email. It's at CanCrusher69@gmail.com, and we'll set up a time. Set up a time date. We'll do everything. But remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Randall, I'm sorry. You got great hair.